The discovery. I don't think this is happening because of anything I did. I didn't mess with anything I shouldn't have. I didn't go looking for answers. I didn't trespass or open the wrong door. If there is a reason this started, I don't know what it is yet. That is what bothers me the most. This weekend, I visited my parents' house with my siblings. We're all grown up now. I can't believe I'm going to be 30 this year. My brother Ross is the oldest. My sister Sam is the middle child. I'm the youngest. That means I still get talked to like I'm 16 when I'm under my parents' roof. It was one of those rare weekends where everyone's schedule lined up. No big occasion, just family getting together. My dad ordered Chinese takeout. My mom cracked open a bottle of bourbon for Ross and me. We sat around the living room talking about childhood memories. We talked about people we haven't seen in years. At some point, my dad got up and went down the hall. He came back carrying a cardboard box that looked like it had survived a flood. "Found these last week," he said. "Let's watch some tonight." Inside were old home videos, VHS tapes, mini DV cassettes, rubber bands dried out and snapped from age. Most of them were labeled in my dad's handwriting. Birthdays, holidays, school plays. The stuff you don't think about until you're reminded it exists. Ross and Sam were eager. I enjoyed our home videos, but it was a family joke that there were no videos of my childhood. There were photos, but nothing compared to Ross and Sam's graduation videos. We moved down to the basement. My dad put a random video in. The footage was exactly what you'd expect. Nostalgic mid-90s tone, bad lighting, awkward zooms, Ross riding his bike, Sam trying to steal the camera's attention. Random cuts to Mom feeding me in my booster chair. Then Sam opening Christmas presents and trying to look grateful. Me standing too close to the lens, reaching for the tiny flip-out screen. It was fun, comfortable, the kind of thing that makes you forget how fast time moves. About halfway through one tape of a 4th of July party, Sam laughed and pointed at the screen. "Is that Mrs. England?" she asked. The video froze for a second as my dad hit pause. The image jittered. Way back near the edge of the frame, a woman stood near the fence line. Tan skin, curly brown hair, purple lipstick that looked almost black in the video. She wasn't moving. "Oh my goodness," Mom said. "That is Diana." I hadn't noticed her at first. Once I did, I couldn't stop looking. Diana England lived next door to us growing up. Nothing separated our houses besides her garden and a strip of overgrown grass. We sometimes played with her kids in the cul-de-sac. Quiet kids, a little off. But nothing alarming. Her husband was a doctor, always working. I mostly remembered his car pulling in and out at odd hours. "Creepy," Ross sang. "That is creepy," Mom chuckled. Diana England was strange. Even back then. Not dangerous. Just slightly off in a way you couldn't describe as a kid. Her left eye always drifted outward. She loved gardening. Always outside. Always smiling and waving. She used to look healthier. But in the video, she was thinner than I remembered. Her posture was stiff. "She was always out there," Dad said. I swear she knew our schedule better than we did. "Why is she standing near the fence by the pool?" Mom asked. Her house was on the opposite side. We all laughed about how she used to talk your ear off at the mailbox. Eventually, the tape ended. Mom yawned and said she was heading to bed. Sam followed. Ross stuck around longer to finish his drink. Then he went upstairs too. After everyone went to bed, the house got quiet. You notice sounds you usually ignore. The refrigerator humming, the clock ticking, wind brushing against the siding. I stayed on the floor, flipping through videos. Near the bottom of the box, I found one that didn't have a date. Just my name, written neatly. Mitchell. I popped in the old disc. The picture wavered. The screen went black. Then it flickered. I saw a garden. The footage stabilized. It was another birthday. Sam's 16th. A backyard pool party. Dad was filming the chaos. Sam and her friends were in the pool. He panned to Ross eating a hot dog. I was 11 or 12 in this video. I was about to go down the slide. I let out a scream. Splash. The camera zoomed out, capturing the entire pool. My heart stopped for a second. Diana is in the pool. It happened so quickly, in the blink of an eye. But I knew it was her. Diana, standing near the deep end, facing the camera with direct eye contact, or at least one of her eyes was. I grabbed the remote and tried to rewind. It wasn't working. It just made it fast forward. I let it play. The camera jarred. My dad must have set it down on a table. The entire pool remained in frame. I looked closer at the TV. Amid the laughter and cannonballs, there she was, Diana in the pool. A chill slid down my spine, not because she was in the pool, not because she was staring at me, but because she was wearing the same clothes from the last video. The 4th of July party was dated 1999. Sam's birthday was in 2007. How could she look exactly the same 8 years later? Diana was still staring at me. I hoped my dad would pick the camera up. I tried to look at anyone else in the pool, but I could not. For some reason, she was the only one in focus. She was perfectly clear. No blurs whatsoever. Gainer. 12-year-old me screamed in the distance. Splash. My head bobbed up out of the water. The camera started to zoom in toward me, slowly, unrelenting. I struggled to stand as I made my way toward the shallow end. Then the camera froze. My small, pale face filled the screen. Out of nowhere, something hit my face. It dunked me under the water. Water churned around me. My tiny arms and legs thrashed above and below the surface. The camera zoomed out just a little. An arm came into view from the left. It was holding me down. It was darker than my skin. It was skinny. The camera slowly moved away from my struggling body, following the person's arm. All the blood drained from my face. I do not remember this ever happening. Is the video glitching? The camera is moving slowly, but it has been at least 10 seconds. My chest tightens. No matter how the camera moves, there is always more arm. The arm just keeps going. The splashing does not stop. The sounds of struggle continue, muffled and frantic. And then I am face to face with Diana on the TV. Still smiling, still staring directly into the camera. At me. Her left eye drifted outward, staring at my body beneath the water. I look away. I do not know why I do not turn the TV off. It feels like any movement might draw her attention away from the screen and into the room. The splashing stops. I look back at the screen. Her expression changes. The smile is gone. Her mouth is slightly open. Her eyes are wider now. The camera begins to zoom out. Sound bleeds back in. Wet footsteps slapping against concrete. Laughter. The frame settles. It is wide again, exactly where my dad left it. There I was, climbing out of the pool, running toward the grass, alive, Gainer, I yelled, like nothing had happened. I caught my breath. Relief washed over me. But Diana was still staring at the camera, back to her original smile. She had not moved, except her arm. It stretched across the pool to the far side. It was unnaturally long. It was at least 12 feet long, like one of those floating ropes at a public pool. Do not cross. And nobody did. Diana's Invitation Part 2. The sound of a car door slamming outside brought me back to reality. I'm not sure how long I'd been staring at the blank TV screen after the video ended. It was long enough for my eyes to start watering. It was long enough to realize my mouth was drier than hell. I finished the last sip of bourbon in my glass. It was mostly melted ice at that point. I poured another, a heavy one. I went back to the DVD player and hit open. The disc tray slid out after a few seconds. There it was, Sam's 16th birthday, 07. That is not right. I picked up the DVD player and flipped it upside down. I was shaking it. I was convinced the Mitchell video was jammed inside. Nothing. My hand shook as I slid the birthday disc back in and pressed start. I skipped ahead in large chunks until I found the pool. Ross and his hot dog, Sam and her friends, my pale face, no Diana. I watched the whole scene. Same camera angles, same movements. I saw myself climb out of the pool after the drowning scene and run toward the grass. I was perfectly fine. I rewound it and watched it again. Still nothing. I paused the video and leaned forward. I put my elbows on my knees. I wiped the sweat off my forehead. Good, I thought. Good. You are tired. You've been drinking. Your brain is just projecting old memories. But it did not help, because I could still see it in my mind. The purple lipstick, the crooked eye, and that arm. That impossible. 12-foot arm stretching across the water. I stood up. My knees cracked from sitting too long. The room felt like it was moving. I checked the time on my phone. 1:38 a.m. I need to sleep. I pulled a blanket and pillow out of the ottoman and collapsed onto the couch. The basement was dead silent. I turned on some rain sounds on Spotify to drown out the hum of the house and closed my eyes. I started counting sheep. 7, 8, 9, then Diana. 21, 22, Diana. I groaned and killed the rain sounds. I needed a real distraction. Something happy, something mundane. I pulled up YouTube, NASA Artemis mission. No. Hood prank gone wrong? Definitely not. SpongeBob SquarePants Season 2 compilation. Perfect. I set the phone on the ottoman facing me. I let the sounds of Bikini Bottom wash over the room. Is mayonnaise an instrument? I chuckled softly. I finally felt the knots in my stomach loosen. As a new clip transitioned in, I heard the sound of bubbles. I turned my back to the phone. I was waiting for dialogue. But the bubbles did not stop, splashing, gurgling, choking. I jolted upright and grabbed the phone. I scrolled back 30 seconds. Not a picket fence, you ding-dong. Squidward's voice filled the room. I exhaled. I was dozing off. Dream noises bleeding into reality. I was just sleep-deprived. I headed to the kitchen for a shot of NyQuil. It was my last effort to knock myself out. The house was quiet. I walked past the stairs leading to the second floor where my family was sleeping. I took a step, and a loud creak from the floorboards froze me in my tracks. No one made a sound. Everyone was asleep. I went back down to the basement. I laid on the couch and turned the volume up on the video. My eyes got heavy. The NyQuil started to kick in. 30 minutes later, the audio changed. Thrashing, gurgling. I snapped awake. The pool scene from the home video was playing on my phone. My younger self was flailing. I was trying to reach the surface. That skinny, dark arm was pinned against my face. The camera began to move. It followed the inhuman length of her arm. I tried to turn the volume down, but it did not work. I pressed the power button, but the screen stayed locked on the video. It was like a non-skippable ad from hell. The audio got louder, splashing, choking. I was seconds away from seeing her face. I threw the phone across the room. It hit the carpet with a thud and went dark. Back to silence. I sat there winded. My adrenaline was redlining. I cautiously walked over and picked up the phone. It was off. just the reflection of my own terrified face on the screen. I unplugged the TV for good measure. I went back upstairs to the kitchen to get a glass of water. I looked at the oven clock. 2:05 a.m. How? It felt like I had been wrestling with those videos for hours, but only a few minutes had passed. I chugged the water. I was trying to force logic back into my brain. Maybe I was manifesting this. The mind loves to play tricks when it is scared. I started thinking about the real Diana, not the thing in the video, the person. She was a terrible cook, but she always made sure us kids were fed. She talked too much because she was lonely. Her husband worked constantly. Her kids were gone. Maybe that is why she was in the videos. She just wanted to be part of something. I started to feel a wave of guilt. Maybe we were the ones who were off, not her. A glow of headlights passed through the kitchen window. Dr. England's car pulled out of the driveway. He must have been heading to work. Looking out the window, I noticed for the first time how bad their yard had gotten. Overgrown grass, weeds 3 feet high. It was a mess. Then a light turned on inside the house. A red light. It was coming from their basement. We used to play video games with our boys down there. Maybe they were still awake. It was unsettling, but it was a logical explanation. All of this has a logical explanation. 2:11 a.m. I need to get some sleep. The walk back to the basement felt like wading through deep water. Every movement was heavy, deliberate, drained of willpower. I reached the basement door and stopped. It was shut. Along the floor, a sliver of light bled out into the hallway, a pulsing crimson glow. Mom, I told myself. My throat felt tight. Mom has insomnia. Maybe she is just watching TV. I reached for the knob. As the latch clicked open, the sound hit me first. It was not SpongeBob. It was not the rain. It was a nursery rhyme. London Bridge is falling down. It was played on a warped, reversed synthesizer. It was deafeningly loud, the kind of volume that should have woken the entire family. Yet, the rest of the house remained completely still. I stepped inside. The basement was bathed in a thick monochromatic red. The TV was on, even though I had unplugged it. Diana's face filled the screen. It was the same shot from the pool, but the quality had shifted. It was hyper-realistic now. Every pore, every fine hair, every wrinkle on her skin rendered in agonizing detail. She had that wide, childlike smile. I could not stop. My legs were pulling me toward the screen. I felt like I was being viewed through a telescope. The world around me was blurring into a tunnel of red static. It left only Diana in focus. The video was moving so slowly that at first I thought it was frozen. Then I realized her mouth was still opening. It was a slow, agonizing movement. Her left eye was deviated completely to the side. It was staring into the dark corner of the basement. Her right eye remained locked on mine. I was 6 feet away, then 4. The nursery rhyme began to distort. The pitch dropped lower and lower until it sounded like it was coming from somewhere deep underground. My hand was still clutching the glass of water. It began to squeeze. It was not intentional. My muscles were locking up. A contraction made my knuckles turn white and then purple. The pressure was immense. I felt the glass begin to spiderweb against my palm. The shards were biting into my skin, but I could not feel the pain. I only felt the need to get closer. I was 2 feet away. I could see the individual veins in her red eyes. Her mouth was open now. It was wider than a human jaw should allow. It looked like a dark, bottomless pit carved into her face. The red light from the screen was not just reflecting on me. It felt like it was wrapping around my throat. It was pulling the air out of my lungs. I reached the edge of the TV. My face was inches from hers. Then the glass shattered. The sound was like a gunshot in the room. Shards of glass and water sprayed across the carpet. The sudden shock snapped the invisible tether. The TV went black. The music cut to an absolute dead silence. The red glow vanished. It left me in a darkness so thick I felt buried alive. I tried to gasp. I tried to scream for my family. But nothing came out. I was frozen. My back was arched. My head tilted back at an unnatural angle until I was staring at the ceiling. My eyes rolled back into my head. More darkness. I could not breathe. It felt like a cold, skinny hand was shoved down my throat. It was gripping my windpipe from the inside. Gurgle. The sound came from my own chest. A wet, frantic bubbling. My lungs were filling with a poisonous fluid. The taste of chlorine and warm pool water was flooding my mouth. Gag. Choke. I could feel my heart hammering against my ribs. A trapped bird dying in a cage. My blood-soaked hand clawed at the air. My fingers were twitching in a useless prayer. In the silence of the basement, the only sounds were the horrific noises of my own body shutting down, the gagging, the frantic wet gasps, the sound of someone drowning in the deep end. And then through the haze of my blurred vision, I saw it. Near the fence line of my memory, near the edge of the dark basement, something moved in the darkness behind the TV. A shadow slid out. It was long, it was thin, it was still extending. It was not a dream, it was not a nightmare. Diana was here. She wanted to talk.